Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whitaker. I gotta tell you guys, man, I must have had 100 different heart attacks while watching this fight because there were so many freaking close calls. Like, oh my god. But that's not the point of the video. What a fight. What a fight, man. So many changes, so many adjustments made, especially by Robert Whitaker. What an incredible fight. Now, going into the fight, of course, we all know exactly what each fighter wants to do, right? Israel wants to strike because he's the better striker. And every other person that fights Israel, the goal is how can we negate his striking? And if we can't negate his striking or outstrike him, how can we sprinkle in takedowns in there? How can we ground him and maybe use our grappling to defeat him? Because he is a striker. So because he's a striker, the narrative is his grappling is clearly not as good. So that is like the path to victory. And of course, a vast majority of people that have tried to do that to Izzy, they've all failed besides one, and that is Jan Wahovic. Now, you could say the reason why Jan was successful is because Izzy moved up to a higher weight class. Jan was bigger. Jan was heavier. Jan was also a better grappler. There are a lot of reasons why he was able to ground Israel multiple times and actually almost stop him in the end of the round. And because of that, of course, Rob was looking at that fight and going, yo, there are quite a few things in this fight that I could maybe implement in my own game. And watching the fight, that is exactly what he tried to do. And I found it so interesting. Now, the two things, of course, that Rob picked was be patient and use grappling. He did both. But of course, he still lost. Now, even though he lost, the fight was a better match. It was a much better match. For one, he didn't get KO'd like he got KO'd the first time. He did get dropped in round number one, but besides that, and besides the leg damage that he was taking, he didn't really get damaged too much in this fight. So that is definitely a plus. It's something that he can tip his hat off to his coaches, his team, the preparation. It's something that he can be proud of. Now, there is something that I find very interesting in regards to Israel, and I've been talking a lot about grappling going into this fight. And a big reason for that is I was watching a podcast, Lex, I forget his last name, but he had a podcast with Gordon Ryan, GSP, and John Danaher. John Danaher is a world-renowned jiu-jitsu coach, head jiu-jitsu coach for George St. Pierre as well as Gordon Ryan. And in that podcast, GSP was asked about his preparation for the Michael Bisping fight. And he talked about how leading into the fight, they were looking to turn GSP into a finisher, into someone who is a dangerous guy. Because in the past, GSP would take you down. The GSP would take his time. He'll work. He wasn't really known as a finisher. But of course, they wanted to figure out a way to make him extremely dangerous. And GSP talks about that the way they did that was by lessening the grappling rounds. Because see, here's what happens in jiu-jitsu. If you train jiu-jitsu, you know this. When you go into class, typically the sparring rounds, the rolling rounds are typically about 5 minutes. That's like the least amount of time you're going to get to work, 5 minutes. And if the professor or whatever wants you guys to roll longer, he could increase it to about 8 minutes. So you have 5 minutes, and in that 5 minutes, you both typically start right on the ground. You start on the knees, or if we're doing positional training, you start in a specific position. So you're already starting playing jujitsu. But see, that is not the way fighting, especially in MMA, actually works. And so a lot of fighters will train their grappling in the normal grappling way. 5 minute rounds. They start on the feet. They can start on the feet, but it's purely grappling. They take each other down and they start to grapple. But what GSP's coach, John, did was he reduced the grappling time to about 2 minutes. And what he's doing right there, what he's simulating is he's accounting for the fact that every single fight in MMA starts on the feet. It doesn't start on the ground. When the referee says go, you're both standing. And it takes a while to take a man down, especially a fighter like Israel who has really good takedown defense. It could take you 3 minutes to ground him. And when you do take him down and you have only a couple minutes to work, you better have been training to be urgent with your grappling so that you can do work in a very short amount of time. That means in 2 minutes, because it typically could take up to 3 minutes to take a man down. In 2 minutes, you got to be able to hold the opponent down. As in, you hold them down, you secure position, you figure out a way to get your chest to chest, because to secure position in jiu-jitsu, a lot of times you need chest to chest contact. You got to be able to control the opponent's head and the opponent's hip, and that takes time. So you will need to figure out a way to climb the hip, get some kind of cross face, chest to chest, hold them down, get some kind of lock, and then after that you got to go to work. Either you're doing ground and pound, or you're cycling through the multiple positions of jiu-jitsu to try to figure out a dominant pin position to do damage with your ground and pound. So that is how GSP and his team trained for Michael Bisping. And you will notice he had that urgency. When he rocked Michael Bisping and Michael Bisping fell, George immediately got on the ground and pound, heavy ground and pound immediately. He had a huge sense of urgency. And then the moment he saw an opportunity to jump on the guillotine, on the rear naked choke, I meant to say, he jumped on it and choked out Michael Bisping. Now, I don't know if this is how Robert Whittaker and his team trained for this fight, because what I noticed was every single time Rob would take him down, it didn't seem like there was a sense of urgency to hold him down. And something that scared the crap out of me is multiple times when Izzy would get taken down in this fight, he would turn while trying to get up. He would turn and give his back. He would literally give his back, and Rob was able to get to the back multiple times. He would get the back. At one point, he was able to actually jump on the back. But then a few of the things that like a jiu-jitsu black belt or a seasoned grappler would do to secure a back position, he wasn't doing it, which I found to be so interesting. So a couple of things that he could have done. Rob is tall enough, like for someone my size, getting the body triangle is not really an option unless I'm facing someone who's way smaller, because my legs are just not long enough to do it. But if you're 6 foot and above, against most people, you will be able to get a body lock triangle on them. Robert Whittaker, I believe, is 6'1". He's either 6'1" or he's 6'2", or maybe let's just say he's 6 foot. That is tall enough for him to get the body triangle on Izzy. And there are multiple times where he had the opportunity to do that, because if he was to get the back, climb the back, secure the body triangle, now Israel has something serious to deal with. He's got to figure out how to get rid of that body triangle. And if you don't have skill, you're not getting rid of that body triangle. And then when you secure the body triangle, now you secure the back. With the body triangle secured, now you can take your time to work the back attack system that you use. If you're using the John Danaher system, for example, you're securing the back, you're trapping one of the arms with both legs, crossing it, and then you're trapping the free hand. So now the opponent literally does not have any hand to defend against a choke, and then you feed it under the neck and walk it, and you can actually finish the choke with just one arm. There are multiple different back attack systems. I don't know what Robert Whittaker's is, but the one thing he wasn't urgently doing was securing the back, as in keeping it tight, because every time he would get to, and dude, I'm gonna tell you guys this, in jiu-jitsu there is no position more dominant than the back, because from the back you have all the advantages. There's like one submission that opponent could hit from the back if they make a mistake. Like if you cross your legs while you have an opponent's back, you could get leg locked if they know what they're doing from the back. If you have a body triangle and they roll to the correct side, you could also get submitted with that. But for the most part, there are very few submissions that opponents can get you with when you have their back. It's very difficult to strike someone who's on your back, and it's very difficult to get them off if they know what they're doing. So the back, that's why when you take the back in jiu-jitsu, in sport jiu-jitsu, you get 4 points. You get the most points for taking the back because it is the most dominant position you can get. And so for Izzy to be giving up his back the way he was giving it up, and Rob to not take advantage of it, as someone like me, bro, I had mixed emotions. I was like, rooting heavily for Israel to win. So I was kind of happy that Rob was fucking it up, but it was also so like difficult for me to watch him like just miss that over and over and over again. So to me, that is the main story of the fight. That is really the main story of the fight. Because if Rob, when he goes back and he rewatches this one, like it's really gonna sting. It really will sting because he had multiple opportunities to put an end to this one. He had his back, bro. And this is on a night where we had, I believe, 4 different rear naked choke submissions. I mean, one of Izzy's teammates, the one they call Blood Diamond, got choked unconscious when his opponent took his back and got him in a rear naked choke. So this is serious. Getting your back taken is serious business. It's not a joke. So for Rob to, oh my God, it was difficult to watch. But besides that, expert level sophisticated striking from Israel. I mean, it's the same tactic every time right now. If you stand on the outside and you're patient with him, guess what he's going to do? He's going to feint the crap out of you and he's going to kick the shit out of your legs. And I think it's about time we start talking about Israel being one of the best leg kickers in MMA. Because right now, when someone asks you, what are some of the best leg kickers in MMA? You start to think Justin Gaethje, you think Jose Aldo, you think Edson Barboza. These are really, really good names. But lately, we've seen Israel control a whole entire fight with leg kicks. Like he's more than happy to stand on the outside, hip fake you over and over again, and just kick your legs over and over again. And he damaged Rob's legs multiple times. In round 1, he was able to catch him with a beautiful cross from southpaw, which sat him down. But besides that, he didn't drop him again, and Rob was actually able to hit him a few times. So overall, man, fairly competitive fight. It wasn't a wash. No one got finished. But damn, if you were to look at the fight and you say, okay, who was the closest to getting finished? Like who found themselves in extremely risky positions? I would say Izzy. Man got his back taken, I believe, 3 times. That ain't good. So my hope is that if he goes back and they're rewatching this fight, man, they're going to have to fix that. They really do. Because if he, for some reason, like if Khamzat Chimaev, let's just say Khamzat Chimaev somehow makes his way, climbs up the ladder and ends up running into Israel, that is one guy that you do not want to give your back up to. You don't want to do that because it is going to be catastrophic to do that. Anyways, I don't really want to get into who I think won the fight. I didn't judge the fight. I'm just happy Izzy won. But it's very possible that if I go back and rewatch it and actually judge the fight round by round, there's a very good chance that it might be a robbery like a lot of you guys are saying. Right now, I don't know. Like I said, I'll let you guys discuss that in the comment section. But yeah, what a fight, man. What a fight. And that's the only fight we're talking about today. One more thing. I do have fighter showcases for Israel and Robert. I wasn't able to upload them before the fights happened. So I'm going to upload those fighter showcases tomorrow. It's going to be 2 videos. Look out for those. But that's it, man. That is it. We're going to leave it right here. Really amazing fight card. Really, really fun to watch. Really appreciate all the support. And I will talk to you guys later with a brand new one. As always, stay safe. Peace out, boys. Have a good night.